Well, let's get straight on it. We're going to talk Philippe Clement. We're going to talk James Tavernier. We're going to talk referees. Yes, those horrible, disgraceful men in black, yellow, orange, green, whatever blue, whatever color they seem to wear these days. We're going to talk also about Oscar Cortes and the forthcoming games for Rangers. Let's start off with talking a little bit about that man, Tav. Look, he is someone who does get his fair share of criticism. There's the for fuck's sake Tav Brigade. There's the get fuck Tav Brigade. There's those that think he's amazing. There's those that think he's fantastic. There's those who are sitting on the fence about him. Like a lot of our players, he divides the fan base a little bit. I think it's probably more 60-40, maybe 70-30 in favour of Tav. But look, I've criticised Tav in the past, and I have his defensive abilities and some of the mistakes he's made. Is Tav perfect? No, he's not. Are any of our players perfect? No. You know, none of our players are in the same league as your Kylian Mbappe's, your the Luka Modric's, players of that caliber. You know, that's just not where we're at as a club at this moment in time. So they're all going to make mistakes. But, you know, one thing is undeniable about James Tavernier. Look, people question his captaincy, but I think we've got to look at it like this. You know, many managers have come in and had the opportunity to take his captaincy off him, but have never done it. Why? Well, if you think about his status amongst the players, he certainly is very popular amongst the playing staff. Also, there's that kind of leadership by example. You know, as the game against Kilmarnock showed the other day, it shows again that, you know, when we need him to, he steps up. When we need him to, he digs us out of the crap, doesn't he? I mean, let's face it, League Cup final against Aberdeen, he scores that goal, wins us the cup. Last night, again, he steps up and scores us that goal. Even last season, during that defeat at Parkhead, he was the man who kept that game going and kept that game alive. And many other occasions we can all mention where Tav has stepped up and dug us out of that crap. I mean, let's have a quick look at these stats. I mean, these are generational stats. I don't think you'll ever see these ever again from a right back. 121 goals, 127 assists in 445 appearances for the club. That's 248 goal contributions in 445 games. That is absolutely incredible. There is very few defenders in world football who have that same record. I think Tav is ranked 6th or 7th overall in world terms, in terms of his goals. But, you know, in terms of the British Isles, in the UK, I think he's second only to Graham Alexander. I mean, it is phenomenal. I mean, when you consider this lad is a right back as well, it is just absolutely incredible. It really genuinely is unbelievable. I mean, if you look at this season as well, these are his stats from this season. Okay, so let's have a look at the stats from this season alone. Now, let's remember, we're looking at a right back here, not a centre forward, a right back. Now, if you forgot that James Tavernier was a right back, and you said to someone, that's a striker, or that's a 10, that's someone who's in attacking position, what do you think? Well, that's a pretty good record. 13 goals in 28 Premier League games, 8 assists, that's 21 goal contributions in 28. That's pretty amazing for a striker. That's pretty decent. That's a decent striker. That's a right back. That's a right back. A Europa League 6 appearances, yet to get off the mark. Champions League qualifiers, 3 goals in 4 games. League Cup, 3 goals, 1 assist. That's 4 goal contributions in 3 games. Scottish Cup, 2 goal contributions in 2 games, a goal and assist. This season, 30 goal contributions in 43 games. 30 in 43. I mean, that's pretty immense. And that's from a defender. If that was from a number 10, you would be absolutely waxing lyrical about him. And I know he has his criticism in terms of his defensive abilities, but I think, you know, in terms of Tav, he deserves praise for what he does, the way he digs us out of the shit when we need him to, the way he steps up when we need him to do that. And yes, he has his weaknesses. He's not perfect. Like I said, nobody is on the team, I don't think, but he definitely deserves some praise and a special mention. Without his goal, without that free kick against Kilmarnock on Wednesday night, I genuinely don't think we get back into that game. I genuinely don't think we come back and get another couple of goals without, you know, with that goal hadn't been scored. What I'm saying is we don't get 2 goals and win the game. I genuinely don't think that happens. It's his goal with that amazing free kick that I think helps to inspire the team to go on and win that game on Wednesday night in what was an absolute game changer of a result. And look, I think one thing I want to pick up about this man here was his in-game management. This is what I want to talk about, his in-game management. Now, one of the big criticisms I have had of Michael Beale, amongst many, was his in-game management was poor, and it continued apparently at Sunderland, from what I was hearing from some mates of mine who were Sunderland fans. His substitutions, his ability to change things were just not there at all. Philippe Clement has this ability to see a problem, to diagnose the problem, and to make the change, whether tactically or whether with substitutions, to put right what is going wrong on the field. Now, Philippe does that, not, like Michael Beale after 65, 70 minutes, not like most managers after 65, 70 minutes. That seems to happen an awful lot. I've watched a bit of Championship football this season. I've got my dad's a Leeds fan, so I've seen a bit of Leeds this season. Daniel Farke's another one, 60, 65 minutes, always makes a change. Daniel Farke's a good manager. But Philippe Clement seems to be unafraid to make a change exactly when it's needed. As we saw in that Limassol game, he hooks Cantwell after half an hour. And we saw last night again, half time. First half was shocking last night. Half time, we were very, very poor. Borna Barisic was an absolute bomb scare. He should never play for Rangers. He should never start for Rangers again. I think he can be a backup. I think, he can come off the bench to spell Ridvan, but he really shouldn't be starting. The guy's just not up to it. And obviously Fabio Silva was pretty bad as well on Wednesday night. And I think the changes that he made, to have the courage to say, right, you two are off, Cyril, Ridvan, on you go, make a difference. And I think he did make a difference. And that ability to make a change did. And we saw the same with, Wee Ross. Now, I love Wee Ross. And I think, I think the criticism that Ross gets from some of our fans is out of order. I really do. Yes, he has his poor games, but we've got to remember this is a 21-year-old kid who is still learning the game. This is a 21-year-old kid who has not played a lot of first-team football. This is his first season playing first-team football. This is his first time stepping up. So let's not get on Ross's back. Let's not criticise Ross. Let's help Ross to develop. Let's help Ross to get better. And I'm sure under Philippe Clement, that will happen, that he will develop, he will get better. I think, like someone made a point on the pod last night, he needs to bulk up a little bit, certainly. But, he's made a big impact this season already. And, he's a 20-year-old kid actually stepping up. He's played altogether this season 25 games, 25 first-team games. And that's the first 25 games he's played this season. Now, Philippe is obviously bringing him on. So that change as well that he made, taking off McCaws and bringing on Dujon Sterling, makes a huge difference. We can all praise the change in mentality that the team's undergone. I think that again is a real game changer. Under Michael Beale, we lose that game this season. If we go 1-0 down to Kilmarnock, like we did at the start of the season. But he's meant Clement, and the way that he's changed mentality has and was seen clearly last night. But we've talked a lot about that, and a lot of focusing on here is the fact that he will influence the game. He will make the change when he needs to. And he's not afraid of reputations. He's not afraid of statuses. He's not afraid of, this player is X. This player's played X number of games for Rangers. This player, is this popular player. This player is this. This player is that. He is not afraid to make the change when the change is needed. Clement, his in-game management, he is proactive. He is not reactive. He sees something. He makes that change. He reacts to that change. He really does swap things round when he needs to. And he deserves all the credit in the world for making those changes. So look, big props to Phil last night for that fantastic change. That the changes that he's made at the right time to really, galvanize the team, to push the team on. Yes, he made a mistake with the rotation at the start, but let's not get on his back. Let's not criticize him over it, because 99% of what he's done this season, he has got right. And the fact that he had the courage to say at half time, I am changing this. I am taking these players off. I am putting these other players back on, and we are making this change, and we are going forward. And we saw a much improved performance in the second half from Rangers. And what gives me confidence is going forward, I think we will see more of that where we need to, when perhaps we're struggling in a game, when we go to play that lot from across the city, when we face Benfica in the next round of the Europa League, he will not be afraid to make changes tactically or with substitutes to change how the game is progressing and change how the game is going. So I, for one, I'm really impressed with what Big Phil has done and how his in-game management is done. And he has courage, which a lot of managers do not have. Okay, so look, one of the big concerns from Wednesday night was the injury to Oscar Cortes. Now, at the moment, we don't know the extent of that injury. As Philippe Clement said to the media post game, we need to assess him tomorrow, meaning yesterday. And obviously, then it might be even the next day. It depends. Obviously, with any injury, you get swelling around it. You can't always get an accurate scan until the swelling is in a position where you can. Now, it looked like it was a hamstring injury, which is what he was grasping as he came off. Now, it's to be hoped that if it's a hammy, that it's not a tear, that it's nothing serious. Now, Cantwell is currently out with a hamstring injury. Now, a lot of what Cantwell's injury was contributed to by that thuggish treatment, you know, was the thuggish treatment for Cantwell that he got against St Johnstone that was pretty poor. So Cortes, though, it was just obviously from wear and tear in that game. Probably that absolutely shocking pitch did not help matters, and it is perhaps no coincidence that a lot of players seem to get injured playing on that absolutely awful pitch in Kilmarnock. Now, Cortes, if it is a hamstring injury, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 weeks out, which means he'll miss the most of March. Now, I suppose what we've got to look on the benefit is there is obviously the Hibs Cup game upcoming in that, so it takes at least one league weekend out of there. There's the 2 Benfica games, which he's not eligible for, which he can't play in because obviously he's not part of the Euro squad. Diamande, Ridvan, and Silva were the ones added to the Euro squad, so he can't be picked in those games there. So obviously there's that side of it. Now, I really hope that Cortez injury is not serious. This lad has done fantastic since he's come in. 2 assists and a goal in the 7 games that he's played for Rangers since he arrived in the January transfer window. I think him and Diamande look fantastic signings. And as I said on the podcast last night, this all bodes well for the future if this is the type and the caliber of signing that Philippe Clement and Niels Koppen are looking at. They are very PSV-esque, I hasten to say, in the signings and in these 2 players. So that's really good news for me. So look, we'll find out obviously more in the press conference today about Oscar Cortes. And if you're watching this in the evening, you might have already found out what the situation is with Cortes. We obviously hope that it's not serious. We hope that he'll be back sooner rather than later because he's fast establishing himself as a key player. In addition to that, obviously, the situation with Matonda, who is still injured. We don't know whether he's recovered yet. That will leave us short in those wing options with Seema also out. I mean, you could play Sterling on one wing, McCausland on the other. That's still an option. Or even Silva drifts out wide, maybe. There are options there that I'm sure Clement will be considering. And as Philippe's proved, along with his in-game management, he's not afraid to think outside the box. He really genuinely isn't. So let's just hope that injury is not too serious at all. Now, I've mentioned their fixtures, Rangers' upcoming fixtures. These are the upcoming games that Rangers have going into April. So on Saturday, we face Motherwell at Ibrox in another crucial must-win game, a game that, we really should be putting Motherwell to the sword in. Motherwell are a decent enough team, but they certainly should be giving any threat. Now, if Rangers go out and play at Ibrox, move the ball quickly, do what we did against Hearts, I've got no worries about that game. I will get back to the Benfica game in a moment. Then we've got the Scottish Cup quarter-final against Hibs away on Easter Road at 5:30 on Sunday, the 10th of March. So, again, that's a winnable game. That's a game we can win. That is a game that we need to win to progress to the semi-finals. Hibs are no great shakes. That is a game we should be winning. Dundee away on the 17th. They got pumped by Celtic last night. We smashed them at Dens Park and we played them. Again, that is a winnable game. Ibrox at home against Hibs. Again, another winnable game. Going into that all crucial, that massive match on the 7th of April at 12 o'clock, Rangers Celtic. That is a game we've got to win. Look, if we're going to win this league, which I think we're probably I don't know probably about it. We are favourites for now. We need to finally lay their ghost to rest. We even with it being a draw, it has to be a victory at Ibrox over that lot from across the city. It really, really does. That is massive, huge. That is the game where we need to really bring together everything we've built towards over these weeks to really smash them. And then it's a trip away to Ross County, which hopefully will not be an after the Lord Mayor's show kind of game. Okay, let's touch on the final thing I want to talk about. I want to talk about referees. Look, I've got to say, in Scotland, and the SFA have got a lot of work to do on referees. There's a couple of points I want to make here. Number one, referees in Scotland are genuinely some of the worst referees I have ever seen. And I include watching park football in that. I include watching amateur football in that. You know, I've watched some amateur football in my time. When I was a kid, and no one would take me to a game in Scotland, or no one would take me to a game. I would walk down in town and watch my local non-league football team playing on Eton Borough. And I've got to say, the standard of refereeing, even in amateur football over here, is better than the standard of refereeing in Scotland. Genuinely, the decision making is just poor. And it's just how they miss blatant fouls or blatant handballs or blatant just assaults on our players or on a number of different players. Now, look, I want to clear one thing up. First of all, VAR. Let's talk a little bit of VAR. As I mentioned on the podcast last night, VAR, the computer system, is not the issue. There is nothing wrong with VAR. Okay, and you may go, "What are you talking about? And that's rubbish." No, there's nothing wrong with the computer system. It's not the computer that makes the decision. The computer will show what the operator asks it to show. The computer will take off stills of what the operator asks it to. Okay. The computer is only as good as the person who is using it, or the person who is watching it, or the person who is looking at these pictures. The problem with VAR is the fact that the people behind the screen are absolute buffoons. They are absolute idiots. They don't know what they're doing. They're making stupid decisions. They're not watching the game, or they're falling asleep. I don't know what they're doing, but they genuinely are not watching the game. So for me, VAR is not the issue. It is the people watching the game. And for me, we need people trained on VAR to be VAR officials. That not necessarily might be referees, but people who know what they're doing when they're watching the VAR systems, or someone sat alongside the ref who pulls up screens for them. You know, someone who can actually make that decision. Now, the next thing about referees is the fact that refs are either bottling decisions because they're thinking, well, VAR will sort it out for me, or are completely ignoring the VAR. It just beggars belief. Now, two things that really stood out for me over the last few weeks with Rangers, and I don't want to sound like a paranoid Celtic fan, and I don't want to sound like I'm whingy, because look, at the end of the day, we're top of the league, we're doing well, we're playing good football, we're winning games, and that's the key thing. But going back to that St Johnstone game, I mean, how the referee cannot give those two penalties when he can see both of them blatantly is absolutely beyond me. They are both absolute stone wall penalties. As you can see, Sterling is clearly brought down. Without the ball, he is taken out by Considine. Therefore, it is a penalty. And if you watch the referee, go back and watch the ref, he is not going to give that. He is bottling that. It is only through VAR that decision gets given. The next one, the handball decision after Tom Lawrence shot, how that is a natural position, how that is even considered, and not even looked at by the match official who is refereeing the game and said that is a penalty, is quite simply beyond me. I don't get it. I don't understand it. This one from the Kilmarnock game, the Lewis Mayo handball, how is that not given? Now, that one was even referred to VAR, and you can go back as far as the Alistair Johnstone one at Celtic Park that wasn't given, that was a blatant handball. Forget the offside for a minute. It was a blatant handball. Now, in both those incidences, the Lewis Mayo one and in the Alistair Johnstone one, both of those are seen by VAR and not given. Well, it's like I said, it's not the computer system. It's the idiot behind the camera who doesn't get the decision right. Now, it's all very well and good 6 weeks down the line, 8 weeks down the line, the SFA coming out and saying, oh, we're really sorry, it was a penalty. That doesn't count. And that could be a game that genuinely costs a team 2 points. That could mean the difference between winning a league in a close league fight or staying up in a close relegation fight. And the Scottish FA have got to act. They've got to look at this. Now, I'd love to believe that it's not referees being anti-Rangers. And I don't really want to say any more for legal reasons, but something has got to be done about the standard of refereeing in this country. Something has got to be done to improve it, because at the moment we are a laughingstock. Now, I get stick at work, but from Premier League football fans going, "Oh, you watch a Farmers League, you watch a Pish League, you watch a Rubbish League, and whatever this and whatever that." And the problem is the standard of refereeing. What the SFA allow referees to get away with is not helping us in terms of marketing our product as a real, genuinely good product to watch. That, along obviously with a lot of other things like the league structure, like the fact that they allow hammer throwers to kick living daylights out of skill players. That's another podcast. But the SFA have got to act now, and that's a big ask because the SFA are not fit for purpose. The SFA are absolutely incompetent. But the standard of refereeing in this country is absolutely awful. There is no consistency in decision making. There is just no intelligence in decision making either. And it's getting now to the point where it's going to start costing teams. Now, I'm not just talking about Rangers, I'm talking about other teams. Perhaps a European place gets missed out, which could cost some team, like Hearts, £3-4 million. It could cost a team its Premiership future. It could cost a team a league title. And at the end of the day, whether that's any team in Scotland or whoever it is, that cannot be allowed to be continued. Something has got to be done about getting this right, getting an adequate time of trade. Now, one of the things I would love to see is an accountability amongst officials. Like I said on the pod last night, get VAR officials to come out after a game and state, right, watch these decisions. Why was that given? Watch this. Why was that given? Or mic them up so we can hear on the television. Okay, you can't over the stands and the microphones in the stadiums. That would be too stiff. Wouldn't work. It'd be too dangerous. Cause riots and God knows what else. But over the television, mic up the ref, mic up the VAR official. Let's hear what they're talking about. Let's hear what they're discussing. If they are professionals, their professional conversation should not be hidden. Yes, don't have the mics on all the time. I'm not saying to catch everything that's said, but when it goes to a VAR decision, open the mics. TV companies, Sky get the VAR feed, TNT get the VAR feed, and Viaplay get the VAR feed. Open it up so that people at home can hear what is being discussed. Clear and honest. That's what we're asking for. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking for, Rangers to get every decision given. And I accept that sometimes we get penalties that are perhaps a little bit dodge or soft. The same way we'll give them away as well, or not give them away, whatever. But let's mic them up. Let's hear what they're saying. Let's have some clarity. Let's have some honesty. Let's have, fairness when it comes to actually refereeing games. Well, guys, let me know what you think of what we covered in the video today. As always, on the way out, two things I ask of you. Number one, smash the like. And number two, remember always,